Hi, just wanted to give you a short intro to this video so that you can get a better idea of what you're seeing. This was a sea day, the second sea day of the week, and we were travelling from Kefalonia to Civitavecchia. We'd spent the previous night travelling more or less due west along what you might call the foot of Italy. And when we woke, looking out of the balcony window, you could see Sicily off to the ahead, slightly to the port, and you could see Etna in the distance. We never got that close to Etna because it's the far end of Sicily from where we were travelling, which probably is no bad thing because it's becoming a bit dodgy around there at the moment by all accounts. It's getting ready to blow. Anyway, as we went through the morning, the ship turned north and we started to travel up between Sicily and mainland Italy towards the Messina Strait, which is an extremely narrow passage between the two. Very, very narrow indeed. It wasn't the usual type of Cunard sea day morning. There were other things going off. There was only one insight talk. There was an act of worship and things like that which took place. But the main thing was this narrated passage through the Messina Strait with the what's his name? Tommy Baxter Hill, the cruise director, giving a commentary from about 11:30 right the way through until we went right out the other side of it. And his commentary was fascinating, and I hope I'll be able to give you a flavour of what was said because it was quite well done. You got history of the area, you got the even the oceanography of the area, the geography of the area, and some other features on both sides. So all in all, it was another good day, and I trust you'll enjoy this video.
The Ionian Sea to the south and the Tyrrhenian Sea to the north. And because of this positioning, the strait experiences very strong tidal currents, among the most powerful in the Mediterranean. These tides shift directions every 6 hours, creating eddies, whirlpools, and a unique marine environment that changes constantly depending on weather, moon phase, and seasonal flows. The floor of the strait drops off rapidly. It reaches depths of over 250 meters or 820 feet in some areas. Combined with wind patterns, no other strait in Europe is so intimately connected with ancient mythology as Messina. And in Homer's Odyssey, the hero Odysseus must sail through a narrow channel where two monsters dwell, one on each side. To the Calabrian side, said Homer, lived Scylla, once a beautiful sea nymph, turned by jealousy and magic into a terrifying monster, with 6 serpent heads who would snatch sailors from their decks as they passed by. On the Sicilian side there was Charybdis, an ever-thirsty beast who sucked in the sea and belched it back out, creating deadly whirlpools capable of devouring whole ships. Odysseus was advised to sail closer to Scylla, losing only a few men, rather than risk total destruction by Charybdis. And so the phrase between Scylla and Charybdis entered Western language, meaning to choose the lesser of two evils. The Strait of Messina lies on a complex tectonic boundary between the African and Eurasian plates. It is prone to earthquakes and undersea landslides, some of which have triggered tsunamis, like the devastating one in 1908, which I'll also discuss a little later. Even today, geologists monitor the region very closely. Sensors across the seafloor and coastline track microseismic activity, and every once in a while, the Earth here still reminds us how volatile it can be. Under Roman rule, Messina became one of the empire's key ports in the central Mediterranean. It exported grain, olives, wine, and was a vital military hub used by Roman fleets en route to North Africa, Spain, or eastern provinces. The strait was well policed and Messina was fortified repeatedly. One of the lesser known but important roles Messina played was during the Crusades. From the 11th to the 13th centuries, thousands of European knights, pilgrims and soldiers passed through the port on their way to the Holy Land. In fact, Richard the Lionheart of England famously stopped here in 1190 with his fleet during the Third Crusade and had to settle a dispute with the local Sicilian authorities before continuing on his journey. Yet with this prosperity also came tragedy. And in 1347, Messina became the first European city to be hit by the Black Death. Carried on Genoese ships returning from the Black Sea, thousands died, and the city went into decline. Another devastating blow came in 1783 when a massive earthquake struck southern Italy, destroying large parts of Messina and nearby Reggio Calabria. Entire villages disappeared, but even this was not the worst. That came in 1908 on the morning of the 28th of December, when a 7.1 magnitude earthquake hit at 5:20 a.m., followed by a tsunami that engulfed the coastline. The port and city were almost completely leveled. From our vantage point here, you may see ferries darting across the strait, as the one ahead of us there is. The docks lined with cargo containers, and if we're lucky, traditional felucce fishing boats with their long bows and raised lookouts for swordfish hunting. As we sail through the strait, it's easy to appreciate the beauty of these calm waters and dramatic landscapes, but not long ago this very strait was a battlefield, the scene of one of the largest military operations of the Second World War and a turning point in the Allied campaign to liberate Europe. By mid-1943, the tide of war had begun to turn. The Allies had won in North Africa, and attention shifted to Europe. The decision was made to invade Sicily, as a stepping stone to mainland Italy and a way to open a southern front against Nazi Germany. The operation was codenamed Husky. It would become the largest amphibious invasion of the war up to that point, involving nearly 3,000 ships, over 180,000 troops from Britain, the United States and Canada, and thousands of aircraft. It began on the night of the 9th of July, 1943. We move now from the history of war and empire into the realms of natural wonder, engineering ambition, and ecological richness. Let's begin with what may already be visible on the horizon off the port side, the smoking silhouette of Mount Etna. Mount Etna is one of the most iconic natural landmarks in the Mediterranean. Located about 70 kilometers southwest of Messina, it is the tallest active volcano in Europe, rising to an average height of 3,330 meters, although this changes frequently due to eruptions and lava flows. Etna has been erupting for over 500,000 years, and it's in a near constant state of activity. It's designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its geological, ecological and cultural importance. Etna has inspired mythology since ancient times, and modern eruptions are frequent here, sometimes spectacular, but rarely catastrophic, thanks to sophisticated monitoring. The INGV, or the Italian National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, tracks seismic activity on and around Etna 24 hours a day. For those venturing inland during ports of calls at Catania or Taormina, you can even take excursions to its craters, often seeing smoke or lava in person, a rare chance to stand on an active volcano, but in safety. As we draw closer now to the narrowest point of the strait, look for the two massive steel towers on the port side and also on the starboard side. These are the pylons of Messina, also known as Pyloni di Messina. They stand at an impressive 232 meters high, nearly the height of the Shard in London, and were built in the 1950s as part of an ambitious project to deliver electricity from the Italian mainland to Sicily. At the time, the span of these suspended power cables between the pylons was 3.6 kilometers, was one of the longest in the world.